Welcome to the Industry360 podcast. Today we are joined by John Young, who built his career within EU automation and today serves as the company's managing director. John is an experienced sales professional. Earlier in his career, he led the company's Singapore office, where he helped transform the local operation and establish the Singapore office as a key base for working with customers across Asia. Thanks to his results and leadership, he eventually rose to lead the entire organization. John has traveled to Warsaw from the United Kingdom to join us for this conversation. Outside of work, he is also a husband and father of two. EU Automation itself is a global company operating in the industrial automation sector. What makes the business model unique is that the company does not manufacture or hold its own products. Instead, it works through a large international network of suppliers and industry contacts to source automation components for customers around the world. Founded in the United Kingdom, the company has grown into a global organization, employing over 300 people with offices across 3 continents, including the United States and Singapore, and a major logistics center located in Frankfurt. Today, EU Automation serves customers in more than 170 countries, sold over 3 million products. Welcome to our podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Industry360 podcast. My guest today is John Young, the Managing Director of EU Automation. My name is Kevin Greiner, I'm the CEO of IndustryMall. John, thank you for joining us, our podcast. You are the first guest and you are the mostly appreciated guests in our podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself and EU Automation?
Of course. So I'm John Young, Managing Director of EU Automation. EU Automation specializes in supplying the leading manufacturers with automation spares around the world. Pleasure to be here, Kevin.
Thank you. I would like to talk about your career first. So I would like to start how your career started at EU Automation. The first steps, how you joined to EU Automation. Was it your first company where you worked, or how was your career?
So I started in EU Automation in 2015. So I've been there, nearly 11 years. I started in our sales department. At the time, the business was a lot smaller than it is now. So started in sales and worked my way up to the position I'm in now. Very quick progress, but it's been an exciting one. Within 18 months, I was running the office in Singapore, where I was there for six and a half years, and then I came back to take the business over from the previous owners.
So you worked 6.5 years in Singapore, and what was your position first in Singapore?
Okay, so I went over there to really stabilize the business that we'd got. The business was only running for a year before I got there, and we had bigger ambitions than it was achieving. So my role was to go out there, was to make sure that we aligned it with how the UK was running and how our Europe operation was running. And we were very successful in that. We went from 8 people when I joined there, and when I left, there was just under 40 people. We'd quadrupled the revenue, and the business was in a significantly better place when I left. So yeah, it was a great time.
Is it still so running after you left Singapore, or?
Absolutely, yeah. The business has gone from strength to strength. So I think there's still about 40 people, but the revenues are growing at the rate that we need them to and expect them to. So yeah, the credit to the guys in Singapore, they're doing a fantastic job there.
And one question is, what was the biggest challenge if you got into the international company like EU Automation as the leader?
So when I went out there, I was incredibly naive really to the cultures in Asia. We have a melting pot of cultures in our office. So we have nearly every Asian country in the office. And so I came over from the UK, fresh-faced with the UK mentality, and quickly realized that I was going to have to change my approach when I was there, because it was very different to how we did business previously. So in terms of how I did that, I had to earn the credibility. So the way that I did that was I led first and then managed second. So everyone was very skeptical of my ways and beliefs because they'd not experienced it like I had in the UK. So for the first 6 months, I actually did the job. I put myself in the center of the room, and I got everybody to listen to how I was approaching customers and what I would ask and how the value I would bring. And I got them to sort of watch and learn, really. Once everybody was on board with that, it was a lot easier for me, but it was certainly a challenge, let's say, to get them to believe in the way that I knew would work.
So you were the only one from Europe in Singapore if you started the Singapore office?
Yes. So it was, looking back, it was as brand new to the guys that were in the office as it was to me. It was just the role reversal. So they won't be. It was a very different approach in how customers would be contacted, and we quickly changed that to have a friendly atmosphere with purpose of the value that we could bring to customers in Asia. And as long as we could explain that coherently, and we could show our ambition in the office, that was what I was looking for, really. And everybody there that was on board with it has gone on to do really good things in Asia. So it was difficult to start with, but looking back, it was a really good period in my career.
Yes, and I know from you that you started the Singapore business, that the first day you joined the Singapore office, there was no phone calls, only emails, WhatsApp, and this way messaging the clients. And if you joined the Singapore, how you changed the communication with the clients?
Yeah, so I'd never experienced a sales office before where there was silent, which was brand new to me. So trying to get the understanding of why communication by phone is the best way for us and the customer, it was challenging, but like I said, we got there through me showing them and teaching them how to, and because of that, they've gone on from strength to strength. So it's
okay. So you were 6.5 years in Singapore, and after that you came back to UK, and you got then the managing director position, or you did in UK something other?
I came back as group sales director, so I was looking after the other sales offices that we have around the world. We have an office in America, services the Americas. We have an office in Frankfurt, which services some of Europe, an office in the UK and Singapore. So we have sales hubs everywhere. There was at the time there was a manager director that was above me, and he's now they did an MBO a few years ago, and so when the MBO was complete, they passed the business on to the next generation to run the business. So there's myself, and then we've got in the management team, we've got Aisha Khalid, who is the marketing director, and a gentleman called David Stice, who's our finance director, and they're the three of us now that operate the business day to day.
Okay, and I think a lot of people will look this podcast and will ask what for qualities you need to be so young with a managing director of a company with at the moment 340 people. I'm right?
Yeah, around 330, 340. I'm still trying to figure that out myself, to be fair, Kevin. But I think because I know the business so well and inside out, I think it's very easy for me to understand the problems that our customers face, and secondly our colleagues face. And so having the knowledge of how the business has grown and works internationally, I think I've been able to use that experience to make sure that problems that should be solved are, and problems that aren't yet solved, we can collectively get to an understanding of how we solve them.
And one question what is really interesting for me, are you working only 8 hours or more every day?
So I would like to say I work only 8 hours, but because of the time differences, so when we are asleep in the UK, Asia are awake, and in between, America are asleep and awake. So I often answer calls early, first thing in the morning, pre 7 a.m. for our Asian colleagues, and I sometimes answer calls in the evening for our American colleagues, but it's a part of the job. Luckily, we've got some really good general managers in each of these businesses, so most of the day-to-day running is dealt with, but there are occasions where I have to jump on calls late at night or early in the morning, but it's a part of the job, and actually it's sometimes the only chance I get to speak to these branches, so I'm happy to do so.
So you have one time in a week a meeting with all the managers from the brands, or how we can imagine your work?
Yes, exactly. So I have a call with Mohammed, who is the general manager of Asia, early on a Thursday, I have a call with our general manager in America, Claudia Pennington, who's been there for nearly as long as me in America, on an evening on Thursdays. But it's again, it's part of the job, Kevin, so it's fine. It's when you enjoy your work as much as I do, it doesn't feel like work anyway. So it's as you know, right? It's
Yes, I know you 10 years, so I know that you are enjoying maybe not you, but the company. And I have seen you 2 years ago, the first time at the Expo event, and I didn't see any people like you that is so burning for the job. And you are a really, really good managing director, because we know from other competition managing directors who are not so burning for the company and like what they do. I think we have a problem that if you're looking for a outside managing director, that you need someone who has the fire in the heart, who is working hard, and I think you are the right person. And we can see that EU automation has grown really, really fast in the last years, and I think it's some portion of your job, and you did a really, really good job.
So thank you, first of all. But to be honest, it's not me. I mean, look, I am passionate about the job. I'm passionate about the business, and I'm more passionate about the customers that we can help globally. But none of this can be done with me in the job that I am. All of the work is done with the 300 plus colleagues that we have globally. And whether that's from all the sales guys having contacts with customers, whether that's marketing, getting the eyeballs to us to be able to have the communication, whether that's our finance team that helps with the invoicing, or with the financial planning, or our warehouse that's shipping the goods. Every single member of our team contributes massively to the success. And so, yes, I may be at the top of that tree, but I'm certainly not the reason that we've been successful. Collectively, everybody is.
Okay. What mistakes did you make later become your most important lessons in your career?
Certainly, feedback earlier is kinder, certainly. There was lots of occasions when I started early on where I would maybe postpone a difficult conversation, which actually would only lead to a bigger problem down the road. So yeah, certainly, if there is feedback that needs to be given, give it as early as you can, because then you can build from it. And of course, the obvious one is hiring decisions. I'm sure we've all hired wrongly. Maybe we've had the pressure to hire quickly, or the wrong person, and so there's been several occasions where we just got it wrong for the business and for the person that's been hired. So there's certainly some lessons to be learnt there. But yeah, feedback early is always the best advice I could give. Certainly to any management position.
Okay, so you told now hiring. Probably you are talking about the years 2021 to 2023, where we had the COVID peak. You hired probably a lot of people, and it was not the right decision to hire these people, or
no? On the contrary, we've been hiring consistently since the day that we started. We've never really had a massive peak in hiring. When I went out to Singapore to start with, I could see the opportunity that we could add to customers, and therefore we needed the staff in to help with the language ability and for the for the connection to certain markets. And there were occasions where we rushed the decision making process to get a person in the door, and it wasn't the right fit. But we learned the mistakes early. We addressed the problems that caused, and then we learned from our mistakes. Ultimately, one of my many things that I try and teach people is that mistakes are okay. Everyone is human, and everyone will make a mistake. As long as we learn from them, it's okay. And trust me, I've made several. So most of them I've learned from. Some of them I'm still learning.
Nice. Okay. What advice would you give people who want to go this career path like you? What they have to do to start? They have to study. They have to do first work. What would you say to John Young 20 years ago?
I think, first of all, believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself, because there's really only one person gunning for you, and that's yourself. If you don't believe in yourself that you can do it, it's going to be very difficult. Secondly, I think just regarding any job that you do, whether it's technical, whether it's management, whether it's sales, whether it's any job, you've got to be a people person. Because if you're not a people person, that is the way that you build relationships, you connect with people, you can explore opportunities, and you can find resolutions to problems. without having the skill of being able to communicate effectively with everybody, it's always going to be your biggest blocker. So regardless of your education level, regardless of your skill level, get out there and speak to people, and you will learn so much more. Certainly from my experience, than any education can give. I have a degree in building surveying, not in automation or in sales management or in companies. I've done what I've done through being able to speak to people openly. Certainly admit when you're wrong and admit when you don't know, and open your ears and listen and see if you can get to the right answer. So you've got to be a people person, have to be.
Yes, I see it 100% like you, and I think our branch is something special because I don't know many people who have education degree, who are, for example, doctors or something like that. A lot of people which I talking running a business with 100 people or more, and they finished only the school and did selling, like you said, that selling is the most important, and the people and culture. And this is the next theme what I would like to talk about about the culture, because what is interesting for us is the Singapore. You as a European had other culture like the Asian people. How was the starting in Singapore? What was the first day? You moved with your family directly, or your family moved after you? How looked the first days?
It all happened very fast. I was offered the job in June. I went out there for the first time in July to make sure that I could live there. I got married in September, and then I left at the end of October on my own. So the first 3 months of my married life, I was in a different country to my wife. She came out later in the January with me. So that was good, and it was bad. It was good because I didn't have to worry about how my wife would integrate into the new culture too. And it was bad because I didn't have the support of Rach with me, bouncing ideas or problems off that I had no one out there to unload it to. So I think the first few months, I quickly realized how different the cultures are there. And I also quickly realized how isolated living the other side of the world is. All of your family members are asleep when you're awake, and vice versa. And so you only get a very short period of time per day to speak to the other side of the world. And always home will be home. So you always need to contact back. So it was very challenging from a personal perspective. Certainly from a business perspective, again, culturally, the office at the time wasn't like the other offices that we had in EU, and that absolutely wasn't the fault of the guys that were there. It was just the way that the office had been incepted. So when I went there, I tried to change that, and I tried to bring some of the European culture in, and it worked some of the time. And I tried to be stubborn, and then you quickly realize that actually you can't change a culture. You can adapt to how the culture may work, but you're not going to change it. So you have to go with it. And actually, once I understood that, and I think once the colleagues that we were working with at the time understood that I was only coming at this from a good place, that I wanted everybody to succeed, we then worked in absolute harmony for the period that I was there.
Okay, interesting. And maybe why EU Automation choose Singapore and not, for example, Hong Kong or other places, because Singapore is one of the most expensive places in the world. You said me before the podcast that the rent was about 7,000 pounds per month. So it's crazy. Why they choose Singapore?
So Singapore historically has always been a trading hub. Before Singapore had its independence, it gained its wealth through its trading hub. So it felt right for at the time a UK business to set up in a old UK territory that had international links to everywhere in Asia and beyond. The way that you structure a business in Singapore is very similar to in the UK, and the transparency that you have with how businesses are structured there is exactly how we wanted it to be. there were several options that we could have chosen, but it's a melting pot of cultures. It's a melting pot of languages. And because our business is scaled really on personal relationships en masse, we felt that Singapore was the best place to set up. We can get most languages there relatively easily. And we could, and there's direct flight from London. So it also made sense. I mean, also let's be honest about it. The fact that it's sunny every day of the year helps people living there. The food is absolutely fantastic, and there is a melting pot of cultures that is delightful. If you haven't been, you should go, because it's one of the best places in the world.
Maybe I will visit your office in Singapore. I heard only that the rents are very, very expensive in Singapore, but the rest, you said to me, the food is much cheaper. The taxes probably lower than in the UK, and yes, so
the food is good. The food is very good as well, and that's it was a big thing that I actually miss about Singapore. You can't get all of the different types of food that you can in the UK. Although the UK food is great, it's not as great as Asian food.
And how was it for your wife to move to Singapore? Was it a big step for her, or was it a normal step because of your career path?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a huge step for H. She like me, we lived and worked around where we grew up. So both of us were only within a 15-mile radius of where we went to school and where all of our friends were. So I looked at this very much to start with from a career progression point of view, and said to Rach that that I thought it was good for us to do so. And I'm very lucky that I've got a wife that, even though she may have been very unsure, she supported me 100%. And in hindsight, she said, it was a very difficult decision for her to make because it was so scary for both of us. But we both think that it was absolutely the best thing for us. And also now we have a connection there forever because both of our children were born there. We have. We were always going to have a connection to Singapore.
Both children.
Both children born there.
Nice.
Both children.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay. Growing the Singapore team by over 700% is huge. How did you keep quality, culture, and teamwork while growing so quickly?
First thing was sheer stubbornness to start with. I wouldn't let go on the way that I thought customers should be helped and managed and certainly qualified. So that was all phone based. We had to speak to them, and we had to do face-to-face meetings, and it was. To start with, it was not seen as the way that business worked in Asia, and that's for me why I saw it as a massive opportunity. If it was the normal way that it didn't work, well, that's why we should be different, and it did. It started to change that. So to start with, there was like you say, it was a very small business out there, and so I made sure that the goals were super clear. I made sure that the processes were as simple as possible, and actually, I tried to lead, not manage. Most companies out there, from the colleagues that we work with, said that the boss was seen as the boss and you did what they said, where I wanted to be very different, and I wanted to try and help them and support them. And so, like I said to you before, I tried to teach them to start with by showing them how we communicate with customers and how we explore opportunities. And luckily for me, everybody that came on board saw it as a massive success, and they were very successful in their own careers. So yes, from me, simple processes, clear goals, and slightly stubborn leadership at the start.
What skills are most important in automation today? Technical skills and also soft skills that help projects succeed.
For our business, problem solving is the biggest one. If you have a customer that's in a country where the stock isn't and they need it yesterday, you have to try and find a way to get as close to yesterday as possible. So certainly problem solving is the biggest one. Our stock is always in Europe. We have a long supply chain like many of our customers and suppliers do. And so it's all about matching the right supplier to the customer's need. So depending on where that is in the world, it depends on which warehouse we would choose. But if it was our own stock, it would always come from our Frankfurt facility.
So you're managing everything, all the world from Frankfurt?
Certainly from our stock perspective, yes. Like I said, we have suppliers in nearly every region that we're selling to anyway, so we can get things a lot quicker. And but yeah, if it was our own stock, it would come from our Frankfurt facility.
Nice to. So you have in Singapore only back office with sales team, with accountants probably for Asia. And
A sales team. We have a customer service team. We have a small global trade team who helps with the paperwork, and then we do have our warehouse, our goods in warehouse, where goods come through, get checked, get checked and get tested where required, and then get shipped onto the customer.
okay, and on the US side is the same probably.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay.
So the four hubs that we've got are, like I say, is Asia in Singapore. We have Frankfurt in Europe. We have the UK in not Europe anymore, in the UK, and we have Chicago in America, where we have our sales office and warehouse. Every area we have a similar setup.
And the question is, what is the next area you want to have an office?
We've just incorporated in Mexico a few months ago, and business is starting to build there. So, providing that continues to go well, we will look in the future to see where the best place to put an office is and a warehouse. Business, of course, to start with, is always slower, but it should be. It's just started, so we're servicing that at the moment from our US warehouse, and providing that there is a need for customers to have a physical address there, we will do that in the future, I'm sure.
Okay, and why you choose Mexico?
I mean, South America is an area with huge industry. I think it's got a limited opportunity in terms, or limited offering in terms of suppliers, and we see that it's part of the world that we haven't helped yet. So we do a lot of business through our US office into Mexico currently, and so the first step of that was to register a Mexican business, and then in the future look at putting a building there.
Very interesting. John, I would like to ask you about your whole career, because I heard from you that you started with 7 years. Can you explain us what you did with 7 years?
So I've always been around business since I was very early. My parents had their own businesses, and so when we moved into our family home, I was 7 or 8. The family home that we bought, they used to sell real Christmas trees from their house, and we didn't know about this when my parents bought the house. So when we found out, my parents said, "Look, do you want to try and see if you can do it?" So me and my brother is 2 years younger, we started selling Christmas trees, real Christmas trees from our house, obviously during December. Within 5 to 10 years, we got that from 100 trees a year to selling nearly 2,000 Christmas trees a year from my parents' house in a 3-week period. So it was very frantic when I was at school in Christmas, because I was always working as well, but it taught me a lot of lessons about the way that you sell, the way that you match the offering that you can with the need of the customer. It taught me customer service skills, that you have to be empathetic, and you have to really listen and understand, and you should never assume. I think that's a really important lesson. Never assume that you know what a customer wants or what they need, or how they want to be sold to. You have to ask the question. If you don't ask, you will get a lot less conversion in my eyes, without the understanding really what the customer is after and matching that need. So that was very early on. I was also the kid at school that would sell sweets at break time. I was always getting in trouble for trying to make a little bit of money on the side. And then throughout my career, I've sold lots of things. So I've worked in a customer service department for a major catalog company when I was very, very young. I then went into what they call resolutions, which was dealing with angry customers and how you sort of resolve the situation, how you calm them down, how you got them back to be a repeat customer. And then I've sold software into the automotive and aerospace industries. I've sold life insurance and banking products. And then obviously before my management career, I sold automation at EU. And actually it doesn't change. The skill of sales doesn't change. You never assume. You always ask lots of questions. You make sure that you can match the customer's need with what the products or the services that you have. And it's okay to say no. Ultimately, nobody likes a pushy salesman. And so, what I would always say is people buy from people. And so if your product or service can't match what the customer needs, honesty is the best policy. Because just because you can't sell to them that time, it doesn't mean that you can't sell to them another time when their needs change. Yeah, that's a little bit of background about where I am now.
And what was harder, the B2C market with tree selling or the B2B market with automation selling?
I mean, look, when I was young, B2C, when I was selling the trees, it was a different kind of fun because I was a child. I was very young, and so a lot of the customers that came back to us year on year, a part of the sort of charm of my brother and I doing this business was that they were being helped by children. And so we had lots of customers over 10, 15 years that we saw their family grow up and they saw us grow up as well. And so some of these people that were buying from us when we were 7 were also buying off us when we were 17. And so it was quite funny that you don't see these people for a year and then you see them, you buy a Christmas tree, you say hello, everyone's got a little bit older and a little bit wiser. And then, I'll see you next year. So, yeah, in terms of the question, is it more challenging B2B or B2C? I don't think there is a difference, to be honest. As long as you can match what the customer needs with the products or services you're offering, it's always the same.
Okay, interesting perspective because a lot of people are talking that the B2B market is much easier than the B2C market because, the competition on the B2C market is much higher than on the B2B.
I mean, it's certainly in our industry, it could be seen that way. I think we are in a very strange industry, really, that most of the times that you receive an inquiry from a customer, certainly in our industry, it isn't a question of whether they are going to buy that part, it's who they're going to buy that from. The need has already been fulfilled. And in most occasions in our industry, tell me if you disagree here, but we're matching exactly what they need with exactly what they need. We're not having to sell the product as such. We're having to sell the service that goes with that product and build the credibility and trust that they should buy that product from you. That is a slight difference from B2C because they can buy numerous products from numerous places, whereas ours is slightly different. So yeah, easier in that respect, but you've still got to sell the business. You've still got to sell yourself. It's a super important part, and you've still got to be able to build that trust that you're not doing this for a one-time sale. You're doing this for a long and prosperous relationship for the customer and for yourself.
You told something what is very important for me. What do you think about the branding in our branch industry? Is it really important to do a good branding? What you do as a automation for branding?
I mean, branding it certainly was a big part of our business to start with. I think imitation is the best form of flattery, and so if you look out there in our space, there can be lots of comparisons made to how similar some of the logos look to ours, and again, we see that as flattery, right? So yeah, look, having a great logo is great, having a great brand is great, but trust takes a long time to be built, and it can be eroded very quickly. So just because you have a good logo or a good website, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have success. You have to do the hard work to be able to continue that trust with the customer. And like I said, it can be broken very quickly. So yeah, look, it is important, I think, but the service is absolutely the most important part. It's imperative to any relationship with the customer.
And how can I imagine your team looks like? You have in your team, for example, some people from the marketing, for the branding, for the social media. How looks your team completely? We know about the warehouse, we know about the salesman. This is the main team, but the other people working in your automation, how we can imagine all of this?
Well, you say it's the main team. Everyone's job at our business is as important as the others, and I hope that everyone in our business sees it the same way as I do. Because yes, the sales teams that we have are doing the selling, but actually they can't do the selling unless we can fulfill the goods through the warehouse, unless we can market the products through marketing, unless we can give credit or offer financing options from our finance guys. Our global trade are the guys that are getting the goods across borders. Our development team are the ones building our infrastructure internally. So everybody has a really important and equal part to play in the success of our business. It's yes, we are a sales business, but actually none of it works without every department that we have. So in terms of the split, I think we're about 50-50. So 50% sales, 50% non-sales. But in terms of importance, they're equally as important as each other.
And how important is social media for EU automation?
I mean, I think social media has got a big part to play. I don't know whether you see this, but as I get older and people seem to get younger, the way that you capture markets has changed. I mean, when I started my career, social media was for seeing pictures of your friends' dogs, and not for for business opportunity. But I think with all of these platforms now, consumers generally have so much choice in where to go and how things are advertised. Ultimately it is another arm to the marketing guys.
Okay, so you use maybe TikTok for selling your products, or you use only LinkedIn and maybe Instagram and Facebook?
All of our product sales come through communication with our sales guys. I mean, we're trying to build here relationships on a personal level at scale. And so if you have a customer, if a customer comes to us, you will be assigned an account manager, and it would be very rare for that account manager to change. So most of these relationships are built over a long period of time.
Okay, so
we're not selling through these channels. We're selling through our main selling tool, which is the phone, where we're building these relationships through the phone.
And you use any marketplaces to sell your products, or only really salesman and everything?
Look, we find that most of our customers come back to us through the account manager directly, and so from a marketplace perspective, it's not our bread and butter, really. It's not our business. So no.
Okay, so I would like to talk about the market situation. The last 5 years were really challenging, I would say, because we had a pandemic and the prices skyrockets, and a lot of companies bought a lot of inventory, and some companies are at the moment bankruptcy, some companies are really big, some companies bought other companies. How you look at the last 5 years of the market in the automation industry?
Look, I think every market that has gone through that pandemic period, which was, it was new to us all, has had challenges, and our market was no different. I mean, the biggest challenge that we had during COVID is that OEMs were not producing parts, and so there was a very finite amount of parts available in the market, and every single customer needed them. And so what happened there was an inflation, really, of cost to purchase these products that were physically there. And what that meant is that inflation had to be passed on to the customer. As soon as the stock shortages went, like every market, prices subsided nearly as quickly as they came in. But you can understand why we all felt pain during that period, because not only were we having to sell them for significantly more than we had been, as well as I do, we were having to pay equally the same amount more to buy them, and there was no way around that. I think what it's meant, though, moving forwards, is that I think it's put front of mind for most of these customers that they have to have some planning done for their supply chains to make sure that if an event like that happened again, they would have a strong and stable supply chain to reach out to, and to ensure that the product could be got to the customer as quickly as it would be before. That's why for us it's really important to have these relationships personally with our account managers, because we can understand this as it happens, and we can advise customers on what is best to do in certain situations where parts may be slim in terms of the quantity, or conversely, there may be that many in there that we advise customers, don't worry about shortages of this, because there's enough stock out there for everybody. So it's really focused the minds of customers to ensure that their supply chains are robust. And I think COVID caught everybody out by that. Nobody could have predicted what happened there. And so, yeah, it's a lesson for us all.
Yes, I think you are completely right, because we had parabolic movements for some parts. For example, Siemens ET200 SP, they moved from 40 euros to even 5,000 euros per piece, and now they like 50 euros per piece. So it was a really interesting time. What is interesting for me, if your clients change their supply chains after COVID, did you see any movement in this area?
I mean, during COVID, certainly, because I think lots of customers were forced to use suppliers that they potentially wouldn't use normally. And in a difficult time like that, sometimes, as you know, with manufacturing environments, these customers can be losing millions of pounds a day in lost production. So they're forced to use people that they potentially wouldn't in the past. I think post-COVID, lots of customers have found that actually they don't want to be in that situation again. And so what we've seen is that lots of our customers want to build these stable relationships where they know that there is a reliable supplier that's sustainable. You mentioned before about, our market can be up and down sometimes, and lots of businesses are at risk of redundancy and bankruptcy, and therefore customers have to find a reliable and sustainable business to make sure that if that was to happen again, their supply chains are strong enough to deal with it. And a company like eAutomation, because we have this global reach and we're at the scale now where we are absolutely a sustainable and growing business, that is a positive to lots of these big companies that want that sort of safety net to know that if it happened again, there is always someone that they can rely on, and hopefully that's where we sit in the market.
And you heard about the situations that some clients who bought, for example, parts for 3,000 euro, who wanted to sell the parts then back to the suppliers. Did you have the same situations?
I mean, no, because our sort of ethos in sales here is that we're never forcing the sale, if that makes sense. We're always listening to what the customers actually need, and to make sure that we only match what the customer needs to the offering that we can get. So during COVID, nobody was pushed to buy more stock. I mean, we always gave the advice that there's a risk that this will go quickly, which in most cases it did, but we would never force stock on people that didn't need it. So for us, we didn't see that, but I know in the industry that there was lots of people that got scared about how long the pandemic would go on for, and of course, they needed to keep the production running, and so I can understand why people did that. So it brings me on to a topic of that obsolescence, because obsolescence is such a buzzword in our industry, and it's not really a case of if, it's a case of when things become obsolete. And so what we try and do in our business is we try and educate customers on when things may become obsolete, and so they've got as much upfront information as possible to ensure that they're not going to get cut short with either huge price rises where the parts become that depleted that everybody wants them and there's none available. But we do try and educate them in when things are due, the life cycles are due to come to an end, and therefore we can ensure that we're giving as much value back to the customer as we can. And again, because we are selling these parts globally and we have such a large organization in terms of doing this, we hear what the market is doing in certain regions, certain countries, and where we can, we'll always pass that back on to our customers. We're not just trying to sell parts in automation. We're trying to offer real value, and certainly with the word obsolescence, you have to ensure that if a factory is using equipment that is or will about to become obsolete, they need to know about that quicker than the reaction of we need the part, oh, it's not available anymore. As you know, as well as I do, it's significantly cheaper for a company to replace a like-for-like part than it is to replace it for the brand new automation line. And although the OEMs, of course, will always try and pitch the new line because it may be more efficient, it may offer more productivity, the investment required in order to achieve that is significantly higher than it is to swap out an old HMI with exactly the same one. And so where we can, we always try and offer that view to our customer, and ultimately it's up to them whether they decide to go down the route that we think is best or the route that the OEM thinks best.
Okay, and can I ask you how you educate your clients about the obsolete parts?
So, I mean, we've got 17 years worth of data in terms of what is and isn't obsolete. So we'll always offer a service to our customers if wanted, where we'll do obsolescence reporting, where we'll do evaluations on what they currently use, and then every time that we receive an inquiry in, if a customer wants to know where in its life cycle that part is, we'll offer that information to them for free, because again, they need to know this, and we would much prefer this relationship to be built on trust than built on a quick sale, and we never see them again and they don't see the value in us. So where we can, we'll always try and offer that personalized service in terms of the factory that they are running and how we can help them achieve production 100% of the time.
And can I ask you a question? Which other services you offering at EU Automation? We know about the selling, we know about the education with the obsolete parts. What other services we can find? And
I mean, we're always trying to gain insights from leaders in the industry. So again, if you go on our website, there's a section on there where you can find interviews and articles on leading topics, Industry 4.0 being one of them. We have published a few books on obsolescence management is what is a big factor, and Industry 4.0. And then we'll also offer other services like service exchange. We'll offer refurbished equipment. We can, of course, offer new. And so we try where we can to offer a solution that fits the customer. Yes, we are a spare parts supplier, but where we can offer additional value, we will always try and do that. And like I say to my the sales teams, we shouldn't be scared about giving that information away, because it should build trust, and when trust is built, we can then have a long-standing relationship with these customers.
Okay, a lot of competition in our business. Why do you don't start a repair service as a EU Automation?
The first thing that comes to mind really, Kevin, is that repairs, when a repair is agreed with a customer, you or the customer have no idea what needs to be repaired, whether it can be repaired, or how long it will take to be repaired. And if a customer has a machine down, having so many unknowns from our point of view is not the best service for a customer. And therefore, a service exchange is our go-to in that situation. It would be cheaper than a new part, but in most cases we can offer them a working part first, and then they return their broken part to us second, which means we get their machine up and running, and then we get that part back after their problem has been solved. Yes, repairs can be the cheapest way, certainly, but because we're advertising and selling so many different parts, it's not fundamentally doable to have the capability to offer repair on everything that we do. So yes, we do work with partners that can repair, but again, we're always trying to match the right solution to the problem. So if a customer needs something quickly, repair isn't the one. If they need something quickly and as cost effective as possible, a service exchange is the best option. But again, it depends on where the stock is, it depends on where the customer is, and it depends on any international challenges that the world may face at that point to determine what the best solution is. And like I said to you before, even though we are a fairly large company in the space with over 150 nearly account managers, we're trying to offer a personalized service on a global scale. So most of our account managers can speak the language that they're selling into. Most of them have got a background in selling, and actually not the selling part, but actually the qualification of a customer and how we can help them best. So hopefully that answers your question.
And how many languages your sales team can speak altogether?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I knew you were going to ask me, and I have no idea what the actual answer is. Many. There is very few languages in Europe that we don't speak. There are very few languages in Asia that we don't speak, and there are very few languages in America and South America that we don't speak. There are certain markets that we're not into yet, but for all the markets we're into, we've got at least one or two native speakers. So again, for a company in Germany, we have German speakers. For a company in Japan, we have Japanese speakers. We're trying to offer that personalized service, and we can't do that without having the native language speaker.
And what you can say about the Africa market, because I think no one is talking about Africa in the automation business. I don't know how it looks in your company, because in the future we hear all about it, okay, fast growing of the population, but you see a business case in Africa?
I mean, we do sell to Africa, mainly to, like you say, the northern states, or to the southern states. However, there's lots of Africa that is incredibly prosperous, and the manufacturing is booming, and so we do offer, of course, say account managers to the Africa region. For us, there are bigger markets for us that we can offer a better service. So customs has always been a challenge in Africa. Getting things in or out is a challenge, and actually, when we in the past have tried to do this at scale, there's always problems that actually is not the fault of the customers or ours, but there's a customs issue. And actually what that means is it gets stuck there for so long that, we lose the part, the customer loses the part. And so, it's certainly one to watch. But for us, there are bigger markets for our business.
Perfect. I would like to talk with you about Marvo. It's a sub company from EU Automation.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about it? Because it's not so big like EU Automation, but we know that it's something with you.
Yeah, I mean, look, EU Automation focuses on cultivating long-lasting relationships that has that personal touch. We're fully aware that the market and the buyers may be changing, and therefore we have to make sure that we have a service offering that captures that point of the market. Some customers do want to click to buy on a website with very little communication, and that's why that service is there. We're, on the basis that we're all so passionate about the industry, we can't leave that section of the industry alone, and so we have to offer them a service to it. But like you say, it's only been running now for 18 months or so, and it's significantly smaller to date than EU. And I think that's because customers still want that personalized service and a long-lasting relationship. But where people don't, there is Marvo there to capture that heart of the market.
Okay, but you're investing in Marvo like in EU Automation, or is it only a side project?
No, I mean, look, it's not a side project as such. It's just to ensure that every customer type that is in our market can be serviced by EU Automation or part of the group. And so, like I said, it's certainly not a side project, but we have seen that long-lasting relationships are still the most effective way to help customers in our industry. Click to buy has a long way to go, but that may be the way that the market's going. So I suppose time will tell.
There is more talk about the circular economy and refurbished parts. Do you think this is a long-term trend?
I think it will have to be. Gold price, silver price, aluminium and copper have all gone skyrocketing in the last few weeks. The reason? Well, they're finite materials. And unfortunately for us, automation has lots of these finite materials in. So I think as electronics become significantly more widespread, not just in automation, but just generally, we're going to have to follow the trend that we're going to have to reuse, we're going to have to recycle. So although it's seen as a bit of a buzzword, I think it has real importance in our industry. You mentioned a minute ago in terms of the America and whether America buys refurbished equipment because they tend to use new. We're seeing the trend that they are buying refurbished equipment, and there is appetite to ensure that refurbished equipment is purchased. There are companies out there that want sustainability at the front of mind, and therefore to help with them on that journey, buying recycled equipment and refurbished equipment is the best way to do that.
I would like to talk with you about technology and innovation in our business. Okay. And I don't know if you heard about it, but in China they did a production line which is working in darkness. You don't need any employee. The production is fully automated. What do you think about it?
well, how did the production get there to start with? It had to be built by humans and installed by humans. And look, we've been aware of this, and we've seen manufacturers have some success here. Certainly, GE, Fanuc have had success here. It's definitely likely to become more attractive to larger organisations because 24/7 production has benefits. Clearly, it has significant cost benefits, and it certainly has significant safety benefits. But actually, when you look at the size of the market that would be feasible in, it's actually quite a small proportion. Most manufacturers are small or medium-sized businesses, and so the investment required to scrap what they've got, exit the people that they're using to produce, and then install this new equipment is beyond the realms at the moment. It's in its infancy, but I think as time goes on, of course, look, it's likely to attract more eyeballs who wouldn't want their operations running all the time. Coming back to the point though about still requiring people, these machines will still need to be repaired. They will still need to have software updates. They will still need to make sure that they're working as effectively as they can. So, will they replace humans? I don't think so. I think that they will assist as opposed to replace.
Okay, and what do you think about humanoid robots? Will they assist or will they take the work from the people?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've watched iRobot too many times to think that that's actually going to happen. So yeah, I suppose time will tell with that, and I'm happy to be called out that I'm wrong, but I don't think they will replace people at all. I think the human race, as technology has evolved throughout the ages, we've always found a way to adapt. And so how will this time be any different? Ultimately, I know these machines are smart, but people created them. And so, yeah, I have faith that humanity will prosper, whatever the technology is that comes our way.
Other question about the technology is about the virtual PLCs. I don't know how many percentage of selling of PLCs you have in the automation, but in our company it's about 20 to 30%. And I heard about that virtual PLCs will be the future, probably in few years. What do you think about it?
Yes, I mean PLCs are a good portion of our business too. They are very expensive. They're key for production to happen. I think virtual PLCs, it's a natural evolution effectively to go that way. But again, a little bit like we've talked about with the dark factories, it's going to be a gradual step until we're there. And again, the amount of investment required for these things to be chopped and changed, it's just going to take time. So in terms of it being a risk to us or a threat to us, I think we're still being asked for 80s technology in production environments. And so if we're still being asked for 80s or early 90s technology in production environments, we've still got probably another 30 years, 40 years left of hardware being required as opposed to software. And so certainly in my working life, I don't think it's going to pose a risk to the industry. But of course, it's a natural progression.
Okay, nice. And other question is about your IT team in EU Automation. As we talked about the virtual PLC, probably you need to hire more IT people to understand all the problems, to sell maybe software in the future. How you see the future of EU Automation? How it will change? Will you hire more IT people?
No, so our IT guys at the moment are simply for our system. We are a hardware provider, not a software provider currently. Now, look, every business has to evolve with the times that and what the market offers. But at the moment, we're still seeing a real strong appetite for the hardware that we sell and the services that we offer alongside that hardware. So it's not in the forefront of our minds at the moment to pivot, because there's still vastness of opportunity out there in order to fulfill. So from our point of view, we'll stick to what we know and what we're good at. If we need to pivot in the future, well, that time hasn't come yet. We've still got a real appetite to help the people that we can help through hardware.
Okay. And how you use AI in your company?
AI is, I hear about AI in lots of in lots of meetings and forums that I go to, because we're in this age where everyone has the perception that we should use it. Everybody has the perception that it will be revolutionary and it will, it make people millionaires overnight. And I don't think that's the case. It's evolving rapidly. I don't know whether you use it personally in the chat GPTs and the Groks of the world, but for everything that it gets right, it gets lots wrong, depending on the question that you ask it. And so I think people are coming to terms with the fact that it isn't going to revolutionize the industries overnight like it perhaps was pitched that it would, or people dreamt that it would. So in terms of what we use it for at the moment, we don't use it really for anything other than giving our sales people and our customer facing colleagues information, and information about parts, information about service, information about previous orders that have gone to the certain regions, so we can give more accurate advice on how long parts will take or what it will cost. That's really what we're using it for at the moment. We have a really good in-house development team who have built our system from scratch, and I know lots of those guys are very excited about the potential, and there definitely is potential there. But as of today, we're gonna evaluate exactly how we can use it rather than go full steam ahead and hope that it can be revolutionary. We take a more of a pragmatic approach there, and we have to build any system that we build in our business is built to assist customers. And so if we can find a way to help customers, great, we'll use it. If we can't, great, we won't use it. I went to a forum a few weeks ago, and it was quite telling, really. It said, keep your hands up if you have heard of AI. Everyone kept their hands up. Keep your hands up if you've been told by your manager that you need to use AI and it's going to be revolutionary. Keep your hands up. And everyone kept their hands up. And then the last question was, keep your hands up if anyone knows in this room how they're going to use it. And nearly everyone's hands went down. Yeah, it is the latest trend to talk about, and we're still in its infancy, to be fair.
And you think in the future, maybe in the next future, 2-3 years, you will have chatbots who are picking up the phone and talking to your clients, or you think it's too more?
At the same forum that I was at, where I've just explained that the hands up situation, I was approached by lots of companies that could show me that I could speak to a robot and I wouldn't know it was a robot. I'm not going to name the names, but you could instantly tell they're robots. Going back to one of my very first comments to you, Kevin, people buy from people. And most people in the world are pretty intelligent to realize that they're not being spoken to by a person. So no, I don't think it will replace the chatbot thing. We're seeing that in certainly business to customer interactions. I don't know about Poland, but certainly in the UK, most banks, most travel agents, most service providers are using chatbots on their websites. We have got some chatbot functionality, but most of it points to you need to speak to a person because we want that personal touch. And so we have advisors that are on the end of that, on that chat function, ready to speak to a person in real life as opposed to a generic answer. Having been at the other end of some of these chatbots and asking a very specific question and getting an incredibly general answer with seemingly nowhere else to go only breeds frustration, and it doesn't breed trust. So until we can find a way, or AI can find a way to build that, we're going to continue the way that we know that works, and that's personal connection.
Nice to hear. My next question is, how do you think industrial automation will change in the next 5, maybe 10 years?
Well, like I said, I don't think it will change as much as perhaps the fear is. We're still being asked for old technology now. I mean, as an obsolete spare supplier, of course we're going to be asked for it. But if there are production facilities still using late 80s, early 90s hardware, I don't think the industry is going to change that quickly in 5 years. The industry itself, so the big OEMs, of course, they are at the forefront of technology and they want to show the latest new shiny versions. But again, because there's so much investment required for these companies to do so, what we're seeing is lots of manufacturing companies are happy to continue as they are with small investments in replacing like for like than huge investments in ripping out production lines and starting again. Yeah, I don't think it will change as much as potentially the fear is. it will certainly become more efficient, I'm sure. But again, for the industry that we're in mainly, we're not going to see a big change, I don't think.
Okay. I think it will change, but as you told, not so much. The small companies will stay with technology from the 90s, 80s, so it will not change. Which technologies have big potential for you in the future?
I think predictive maintenance technology has a massive part to play. I mean, what we find is most of our customers are very stressed when they're speaking to us, because at that point they've already had a machine that's broken down and they need to fix that part quickly and the pressure's on. There are technology out there that can start to understand when a part may fail and then repeat orders and automatic orders for when things fail. But again, going back to what we said previously, I think the adoption of this will require big investment and big change in these manufacturing environments. And so I think it has the potential to really help reactive buying, because companies will be able to see that parts are about to fail. But in the short term, I think that the adoption rate will be slow and steady as opposed to revolutionary.
The next question which I would like to ask you is the crisis in Germany. We have a big crisis in the car manufacturer companies that they don't have any budget to spend on new parts. How you see the situation with car manufacturers?
I mean, with companies like EU Automation, we can help that because we can offer them repair, we can offer them service exchange at normally the same level of service in terms of speed that we can get new parts. So look, the car manufacturers are going through a bit of a tough patch, but they're not going to stop producing cars, which means that they are still going to need production facilities running, which means they will still need spare parts. So the fact that they have an alternative, which is a slightly cheaper alternative, potentially with the same speed of service, we can only help with them with that. I'm sure all these prestigious car companies in Germany will bounce back because they've been around 100 years, and they're still seen, certainly from a UK perspective, as premium brands that people want to be in. So maybe it's just a blip for them.
And can you tell me what is the situation after the Brexit? You have the same problems like we in Germany. You have an office in Germany, so you know probably our problems in Germany. What is the situation? Was Brexit a good solution or a bad solution for?
From my point of view, personally, I work for a European business which sells into Europe and across the world. So personally, I would have preferred to stay inside Europe. It would have made everything far easier. Certainly for our UK customers, customs can now be a little bit challenging, and the cost is one thing, and we'll always try and absorb that where we can as a business. It's the time really that it takes for that process to happen, which means that some of our customers do now wait slightly longer than they would have before. Personally, I have to wait in queues a lot longer at airports now because I can't use the European.
Yes, I know.
This morning, I apologise for the hour wait,
problem,
Kevin. But that was thanks to Brexit. But no, I think from my point of view, it would have been preferable for me and the business for us to stay in. But as always, we are such an agile business, really, and adapting to the problems that come up. So as soon as Brexit happened, our main logistics centre up until that point was in Fenton, in Stoke-on-Trent, in the UK. The day that Brexit was announced that we were leaving, we got a facility in Frankfurt because Europe's a big part of our business. Germany is a big part of our business and the surrounding areas, and we wanted to ensure that the service that we offered was still exactly the same as it was before.
Yes, and I think it shows really good how EU Automation is working, because after the Brexit, you opened the office in Germany. I know it because we shipped all our parts firstly to UK, and after the Brexit, we shipping our parts, for example, as a customer to Germany. I would like to talk with you about your future of EU Automation and maybe your own future. One personal question is, you see how you see your future. You will be the managing director until your retirement, or you think you will move to other companies?
The thing with any career, certainly from mine, it's very easy to look back. It's very difficult to look forwards. And so I still love this company. I'm still very passionate about our customers. I'm still very passionate about the staff that we've got and how that we are all growing together. So I don't know what the future holds for, and none of us do. But while I still have the passion that I do, I would love to be a part of EU's journey, and I intend to be. In terms of what the future holds for the business, we're still growing. We're still growing. We're still reaping the benefits of being having that personal touch with customers through languages on a global scale, and so I would love to be a part of that growth journey. In terms of the way that we grow, because we have such a long and a standing customer base and sustainable customer base, we can still grow organically without the need to acquire, without the need to merge, and without the need to bring investment in. So we will continue to do that until we can't grow anymore and we need to adapt and pivot. But at the moment, every office is doing really well. Customers are returning. And that's testament to the hard work that the team do.
Okay, so you think it's realistic to grow to 1,000 employees, or you think it will be?
I mean, the market is always becoming bigger. Production is most of production now is becoming automated, and so as handmade becomes sort of obsolete, ironically, there will still be a huge need for the products and hardware that we sell. So whether we can get to 1,000, that's certainly an ambitious target, but all we'll need really is time. If we follow the same trajectory that we have currently and we offer the same service, customers hopefully will see the value that we offer and will come back. And we can continue to grow organically.
And maybe how fast you grow from 100 employees to 200?
Well, when I started in 2015, there was just over 35 of us, and we've now up to 340. Every office has at least the same number of people that were in the business when I started. So hopefully we can follow the same trend.
What strategic decision will be most important for companies to stay competitive in the coming years?
Investing in people, for me, is the biggest one. People are paramount to any business, and I think if you're not going to invest in them, you can't stay ahead of the competition, truthfully. So yeah, that would be my answer on that, certainly.
Okay, and how you want to invest in those people and in the education or?
Yeah, training, education. We offer certainly courses for certain departments where they can up their skills. We'll offer secondments where we can for people to gain insight into other departments. So if you're not investing in your people, well, what is the business? It's just a brand, and without people, it's just a brand, isn't it? So yeah, you have to invest in your people to stay competitive.
And my final question is, if you could share one key lesson from your career for leaders and specialists listening today, what would it be?
Build a team that you can trust and support, and then leave them alone. Don't try and micromanage them. Offer them support where you can, and remove the barriers that they need you to remove. But as long as you can trust in the people that work for you and offer them guidance into how they can achieve their goals, they will always surprise you. I've done both. I've gone down the micromanagement route and the trust and leave alone, and I've always had better results from giving trust and letting them do their thing. So that would be my big lesson for everybody. Although it's difficult, let the people do what they need to do, and they will do it well.
Very, very interesting, John. And I would say thank you for the podcast. Thank you. It was a pleasure to have you here in Warsaw. I would like to link your LinkedIn, the EU Automation LinkedIn, and then the two books which EU Automation published.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And I hope I will see you in the next future, and when you can share with us that you're hiring 1,000 employees.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a nice
Kevin.
day.
Cheers. Thanks.